Welcome everyone to another episode of Hirams Trestle here in Black River, New York. All right, tonight we got for co-host with the worshipful master Rob Mullin back with us again tonight. And we also have brother Keven Cordero who's going to be joining us tonight. Tonight we're going to kind of cover some areas of Masonry. If Masonry is for everyone, we're going to be covering, can Masonry make people better from a bad point of view? You know, if Masonry is just as good for the next person as it is for the rest of us. So, Dad, we're going to start off with our first question. And, you know, we'll direct that to the worshipful master, Rob Mullin, and see what his thoughts are on Masonry. So welcome back, Brother Mullin.
Hey, welcome. Actually, not welcome, but thank you for having me back.
All right. And we're going to welcome Brother Keven Cordero.
Hey, I'm Brother Keven Cordero from Bethany Lodge, 821, and also from my home lodge from Puerto Rico, Port Revere, number 98, and I'm very happy to be here.
Great. So you gave a better introduction than Brother Mullin did. All right. So one of the top questions that, you know, a lot of people have asked is, can Masons make a bad man good and a good man better? You know, can Mason produce someone who just completely on the wrong side and move that individual to see our point of view? So, you know, we'll start with Brother Mullin. You know, what do you think? Can Masons make a bad man good and a good man better?
Yeah, so there's actually an interesting story. I won't beat it to death, but when I was first investigating Masonry, I had this little old lady that I supervised here in town. And when she found out that I was becoming a Mason, she told me this story about a man in her town. He was like, you know, one of those legends, like the meanest, like bad Leroy Brown type of guy, the meanest man in the whole darn town. And when he became a Mason, she said his whole demeanor changed. People respected him. He became a better businessman. People enjoyed being in his company. He did things for the community. Prior to this, people just generally did not like him. So that begs the question, can Masonry make a bad man better? I say yes, depending on what do you define a bad man as?
Yeah, okay. Well, what about you, Brother Cordero? You think Masonry can make a bad man good and a good man better?
For me, I heard that, you know, Masonry make a great man better, and that's actually true. On the other hand, when he says, like, if he makes a bad man better or a bad man good, I believe that certain individuals or, you know, people in general, they can change, but all the teachings from Masonry and all the things that you learn in Masonry actually can change your life. But I believe that Masonry is made for certain individuals, and I'm not perfect. I know that most of the brothers are not perfect. We're always trying to improve in ourselves, and we're looking to, you know, become better man in society and in general. But I don't think that someone who has a dark past, I don't think that he should be denied to join the fraternity, but we should be very meticulous and we should go very deep if we want to allow anyone to join. For instance, I believe that, you know, like someone who had a dark past can change, and I believe can make a bad man good. But I also believe Masonry always, since the beginning, always is being fulfilled with people and brothers that before actually joined the fraternity, they were considered good men, and they were considered people that were always willing to do good.
Okay. You know, I can see both of your points of view. They're a little bit different from each other, but I can see both your points of view. But I would have to say, in a biblical sense, I don't think Masonry can make a bad man good. And let me explain what I mean. When you're classified as a bad man, it's because you've been given the opportunities to change throughout time. Usually Masonry is for, you know, young adults of the age of 18 and over that can pretty much think for themselves and commit without any attachments, you know, like younger kids and stuff like that. So when we see a lot of young Masons come in, those Masons have already gone through a set of life experiences that have brought them to that particular point in their lives where they have made a choice to be a bad man or be a good man. And, you know, when you classify someone as a bad man, it's because that person has done something against the rules of society. That's what I believe make the human being itself has made a set of rules that have determined what is good and what is bad. So when we look at a particular person and we see that that person is good, then the fraternity can continue to build on that person. It's like I said in the last episode when I read the poem, that we will never make a perfect ashlar until we lay down our tools. Only then will we have the perfect ashlar, because we would have done everything in our life to be better than what we are now. When we look at, you know, individuals that are bad men, I mean, can we say that we can make a bad man good? Or can we just say that that bad man has already been classified as a bad individual, and it really doesn't matter how much good he can do in his life? The fact that he's done things that are unacceptable has already classified him as bad. So can good men be better? Yes. Can a bad man be good? I don't think that that's possible. I'm not saying that bad people can't change, but I'm saying that when you're building an ashlar to be perfect and that ashlar has already been scarred by bad tools, then it's kind of difficult to reshape a bad ashlar after so many years of working on it. You know what I mean?
I actually have an antidotal story to that. I think I pronounced that right. Antidotal. So it goes back to when I said, what defines a bad man? Like you said, we all start off as a rough ashlar. And throughout our life, we're becoming that perfect ashlar. And you're right. Typically, when we think of a rough ashlar, we're thinking of men who, like you said, do not have that rough ashlar already scarred by other tools. That's actually an amazing analogy. I really like that. So here's an antidotal story. So there was a man that wanted to join Bethany a few years ago, and another brother and myself just met with him just to see where his head was at. And he going on about how he just wants to know the secrets. He's like, I really want to know what you guys know. After further investigation into this gentleman, he was a previous soldier that had robbed a local convenience store with two other soldiers. So, and that took a lot of digging. Googled his name, and I was like, wow, we had this man that was interested in our fraternity that once robbed a convenience store. And I think that what you are getting at, as far as we make a bad man better, somebody whose ashlar is already scarred with those bad tools. He robbed the bank. It's not like a man who wants to become a Mason who ran a stoplight and got a traffic ticket.
Right. You know, the best way to say it is, I heard it on one of the other Masonic podcasts. It was on the Masonic Roundtable, and he said it best. Actually, the main host said it best. He said, to make a bad man good, they go to see, you know, their perfect maker. You know, they go to see that great architect that is going to change their lives from being bad men to good men. But for people that are good in nature and want to be better, that's where we come in, you know, and that's why our saying in our fraternity is making good men better. Because when you're a good man, you just want to be better. You want to find the ways to make yourself better.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Men who are coming into Masonry already have a reputation of being sound mind, sound character, moral people in their communities.
Well, what do you think, Kevin?
What I believe is, my personal opinion is that I always believe, and I read this in a book, that for your initiation, you're already walking, you're already searching for the light, for that, you know, knowledge, for that wisdom. So 90% of the brothers that I met, it was the same. They already have a reputation. They already have values. They know how to behave. They have a certain, like, I want to say something special. Or they were looking for something that would connect with others that they have that wisdom. And I believe it's not lucky. I was able to find a place where I feel happy among my brothers, and I feel one of the same. So what I'm trying to say is that people who are trying to join the fraternity, the brotherhood, or people who are already searching for that wisdom. And someone who has like I don't want to say a bad past, because like most of the people that we have ups and downs, like I don't know, like brother Rob said about the traffic light. We now bad intention, like I don't know, like traffic ticket or something like that. I would
Right.
not consider a brother like bad just because of that, but I would consider someone that done any drugs, selling drugs, or is like a criminal, or there's a criminal background, or there's some sort of like, malicious intent. I feel that when I see someone, I kind of know what the person is coming from. If they're actually willing to learn, if they're actually trying to join the fraternity for the good and for making the fraternity like being part of the fraternity and make fraternity better, to improve that fraternity, to improve the history of Masonry, and to make the world a better place. So I agree with you, Brother Angel. I think someone who's already, done many, many bad things, I think it's pretty hard to make that person good.
Yeah, somebody who's already morally bankrupt.
Right. Well, then that moves me on to my next question, which I'll kind of jump around a little bit. Can anyone be a Mason? I mean, can anyone be a Mason with that first question, making bad men good and good men better? What do you think, Brother Cordero?
I believe that people that are willing to learn, people that have an open mind, and people who are searching for something new, like a wisdom, like searching for they can become a better person. But I think Masonry is not for everyone, because I have an example. I have friends, I have family members that they ask me about Freemasonry, or they talk about it, or for instance, my best example can be my dad. I love my dad. He's a very good man. He's a hard worker, and I love him. But my dad, I will believe he would never understand, even though if he decided to join, he would never understand the brotherhood, because you have to, like, as a person, you have to do your research, understand the historical aspect of Mason, and also understand why are you taking the step. It's because you consider yourself that you want to do good to society, you want to do good with your family, and you're searching for philosophical school, for that place where you can gather with others and feel peace among brothers and learn about others and about Masonry. So I believe that Masonry is not for everyone, but it's not impossible for any brother or anyone who would like to join. It's not impossible. I believe people, if you search and you knock the doors, if you're willing to learn, if you're open-minded, and you understand the step that you're about to take, I think anyone can join our fraternity.
Okay, what do you think, Brother Mullin?
I agree with Brother Cordero. Any man can become a Mason that meets the criterion to become a Mason. However, do they have what it takes? As Brother Cordero pointed out, researching the fraternity, how you can make the fraternity your own. And that's one thing that we as Masons often forget, I feel personally, is we have to really make this fraternity our own. Nobody is going to do the footwork for us. So, yes, there are plenty of good men out there, plenty of good men that could become Masons. But when the rubber meets the road, what is it going to do for them? How are they going to benefit from it? And I wouldn't discourage any man from becoming a Mason that, like I said, meets the criteria. But they have to really ask themselves, are you willing to do the footwork? And there's other aspects involved that you have to consider. Is your wife on board? If your wife's not on board, or your husband or whomever, they're not on board. So yeah, there's many men that are well qualified, willing to do the footwork, just to reiterate. Are their spouses on board? Does their work schedule allow for it? We've had brothers come through, and I call them brothers because they are brothers now. They became Masons, but they don't darken the doorways of the lodge. They raise the Master Mason, and then we never see them again. And that has to do with the fact that they never took the time to consider their commitment to the fraternity. Also, with that said, there are also many great men who can become Masons, as I said 100 times before. The work involved as far as the memorization, moving through the chairs. Yeah, that's great. There's many brothers that enjoy just sitting on the sidelines. I say good on them. But when they initially joined, there were Q&As they had to memorize.
Right.
All those wonderful things that we memorized before that we have to show proficiency in, they would not be able to do that, unfortunately.
Well, I can agree with you on a lot. I also agree with Brother Cordero on a lot of the stuff that he said as well. And, I also believe that any upright man can be a Mason. I think that as far as memorization goes and trying to learn much, I believe that those that want it will try their hardest, and those that try hard enough will be accepted by their brothers because they will genuinely be seen as people that want to be Masons. I think that individuals that don't try and give up, or they look at it as a joke, or they want those secrets that everyone so much desires that become Masons, eventually they don't live up to the hype, or they see something they don't like and right away they give up. And those are the ones that I believe should never bother with the fraternity, because eventually when you're looking at trying to make something out of paper, it's not as easy as you think it is when you see someone else do it. Meaning, not everyone can be a Mason, not only because of that criteria, because they're not willing to put the work into it. And if they're not willing to put the work into it, then they shouldn't bother with the fraternity, because it is going to take work. Because at the end of the day, every brother here knows that what you put into Masonry is what you get out of it.
Absolutely. You make a very good point. Watching National Treasure or listening to some conspiracy podcast on YouTube. And so they join thinking that this is what it is, that they're going to find out all the world's secrets, when really all they're going to find out is, how are we going to mash potatoes at the next dinner? You know what I mean? So they're
Yeah, you're right.
They're disillusioned. They don't realize Masonry does not just encompass business meetings on the 2nd, 4th, or whatever date your lodge meets. Masonry encompasses more than that.
Right. Well, with that being said, and I'll ask Brother Cordero this question first. Do you think that Masonry can evolve with the times, or should it just be left alone? Is this, you can see changing as time changes, whether it's digitally, electronically, we go back 300 years with a history. Should those things change with the times that we see ourselves in now, or should we just leave Masonry as is? A lot of people ask this question. What do you think, Brother Cordero?
I think that Masonry should stay the way it is, but just with some changes. Now technology is like part of our life. Like everyone has a phone. Technology is everywhere. It's part of us. But there are certain things that should stay the same. For example, or rituals or allegories, they should stay the same. The way we conduct our meetings should stay the same. For instance, I believe that technology can help us in the future and actually right now for educational purposes. Like we can actually show a video to the brothers at the lodge, be able to use all the resources that we have now. We can have a PowerPoint presentation and talk about the brothers from the past, and all of this we can do it with the technology that we have now. But there's certain things that I believe they should stay the same, and those are the how we conduct the meetings, the proceedings of the meetings and the ritual. I heard this from a brother, and I believe those words, and I also agree with that. Is that if a brother from the past comes to a meeting, I don't know, like during the next meeting that we have, a meeting in the future, if we keep doing this the way we do our meetings, the way we conduct our meetings, the way we do our proceedings, he will be able to understand. He will be engaged because it's the same way they were conducted in the past. And I feel so awesome when I'm in the meeting, and I can feel that peace, and I can feel like, wow, I am here in the lodge, sitting inside the lodge like other brothers, historical brothers like George Washington, Simon Bolivar, a lot of great brothers from the past. They were sitting also in lodges, and they were doing the same or similar, that the same things that we were doing during those meetings. So I believe that certain aspects could change, like for educational purposes, we should bring technology, but uh for for certain areas we should stay the same.
Okay. What about you, Brother Mullin?
Our ritual and how we conduct our meetings set us apart, right? That is what makes us not the Elks or whatever other fraternal organization that you can think of. Our ritual and the history of it and how long we have had the same ritual. I don't want to get into, oh, the ritual is updated, so on and so forth. I'm talking about the ritual in general. We have a ritual, we have a way that we conduct our meetings, and this is the way we have been doing it for so long. And sometimes that tradition is okay. And we need that. Like I said, that's what makes us such a unique fraternity. However, I do agree with Brother Cordero. We need to incorporate more technology as far as education. That's something I've thought long and hard about. Even before I became master, before COVID, I wanted to incorporate more technology. In fact, Brother Cordero, myself, and a few other brothers met at a restaurant. We talked about it. We talked about projectors and getting Wi-Fi for the lodge, enhancing the overall lodge experience. And that's where technology comes into play. And we are a new generation, and there's a lot of Gen Zers actually they've grown up on technology that would benefit greatly from such avenues. Now, I'm not really on board with the whole virtual reality thing, but that was a good conversation. I'm not gonna lie. But can you imagine the lodge room with a bunch of candidates walking around blindly with goggles on?
I agree that some things should be left to the gamers, but you know what? The question is, it's a very difficult question to ask because we live in a society today that's built on technology. 300 years ago, there was no technology. Some brothers couldn't even read and write, so they were helped in lodges as far as history tells when it came to them becoming Masons because they couldn't read and they couldn't write. Hence why so many brothers use the mouth to ear to learn the rituals, you know? And as far as technology goes, we have evolved. Masonry has evolved. It's not as fast as many of us would like it to, but it has evolved because currently the Scottish Rite are using videos to tell stories for their degree work. We, as brothers within the Blue Lodge itself, we use cards that can be scanned at the door by some lodges. So when you go visit a lodge, they can scan your ID at the door before you even enter the lodge, and that ID tells them if you're up on your dues or if you faltered. So the technology is actually growing with Masonry. Is just not as fast as some people would like it. Some people would like technology to be up to date and up to par with current events. And I don't think that's possible. But that's not to say that technology hasn't already opened the doors within Masonry, because it has. The same thing like with Scottish Rite. When you go over to the Scottish Rite, as soon as you walk into the lodge, they scan your ID card. I don't know how the York Rite is. You can let us know, but I know so far, from what I've seen, everybody has card for the lodges they belong to or the bodies they belong to, and that's how they get in. 5 years ago that didn't exist at all. So it's a moving progress. It's just not as fast as some people would like. And I think eventually, it will go further in. But I think that it's just taking its time because, like you said, and like Brother Cordero said, how do you involve technology without taking away the history of Freemasons?
Yeah, and the Scottish Rite, Brother Cordero and I both recently joined. And when we were watching the videos, an idea did pop to my mind while watching those videos, is that whole Hiram Abiff drama at the end of the Third Degree. How awesome would that be to be in, video form? I think the new Master Masons would get much more out of that. But that's just my personal opinion. But other avenues of technology that lodges are using that I enjoy seeing is Facebook, Instagram,
Exactly.
Twitter.
I can't agree with you more. That lodges use Instagram and Facebook mainly, but a lot of them also have websites. They have their own IP addresses that are already built into the system. So if you want to, if I want to find out about Masonry, I just log on to the New York Grand Lodge and I can get all the information there. That's a form of technology. Is like I said, it's not up to par with other, but it's there. It's there for the use.
And that's, when you mentioned websites, that's actually a really good idea. I know the Tigress Shriners, for example, down in Syracuse. I can log onto their website and see all of their events, when their next meeting is, when their next fundraiser is, who their officers are. It's a robust website. I enjoy going to their website just to look at it and dream. One day I want Bethany Lodge to have such a robust website, or media designers. However, as you said, it takes time. And you have to have brothers who are motivated, who want to keep up on those things. If you don't have brothers who are motivated, one of the things we're working on in Media Shriners right now is a website. And it's not the lack of motivation, it's the lack of know-how. A lot of older brothers, they don't know how to use GoDaddy, that sort of thing, but we are rectifying it. We're working through it, and my vision is to have this really awesome website. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is during this whole pandemic, we were meeting on Zoom for a while. Not the whole pandemic, but for quite a chunk of it, we were meeting on Zoom. And one of the things I often wondered is the part of the meetings that are not incorporating ritual, just the regular business meeting. What's to say we can't put that on Zoom for brothers who can attend? But that's a Grand Lodge thing. That's not a Bethany Lodge decision to make. But those were just ideas I've thought about over the past year or so.
Yeah, no, I can see, but the only drawback to something like that is, you would end up having less people show up to meetings because if they miss the meeting, they can just jump online and just catch it on a rerun.
Absolutely.
And right. The only ones that would be showing up to lodge would be the officers to open and close.
Absolutely.
So there could be a lot of drawbacks. Well, I don't want to hold everyone long, so I'll go with final thoughts on the future of Masonry. So, brother Cordero, we'll start with you. What do you think, or what are your final thoughts on the future of Masonry?
For the future of Freemasonry, I believe that we will start using more technology. I believe we're not remaining the same, but there's certain aspects, there's certain parts of our meetings that they should remain just without any type of technology, just because that's the beauty of Freemasonry, the beauty of being among our brothers, the beauty of learning from our brothers, learning from them, seeing like how you can progress, how can you become a better man, how you can become a person who can actually help society. So I believe technology is a great tool, but we have to be careful because, for example, like if we have uh, like multiple, like during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings, and they were great. They were awesome, but at the same time, the beauty of Masonry is being in that lodge with your brothers, looking at the rituals, participating of the rituals, being in the meetings, opening and closings, and learning from every single one of our brothers. I believe that's the beauty of Masonry. And technology takes a little bit of that, and I think we should be careful with the amount of technology we have or we start using in Masonry.
You made a good point there. Well, what about you, Brother Mullin?
I just want to say that the song "Bad Bad Leroy Brown" is going through my head right now during this whole podcast. Well, I agree with Brother Cordero. There's something powerful and something beautiful about our ritual that attracts the right men. As we've talked about, there are many men who are qualified to be Masons, but are they attracted to that ritual? Is there something meaningful about it? Is there something that brings purpose into their life? And I think that's one of the things that Masonry will continue to thrive and press forward with is our ritual. And I feel we will experience growth as more men are looking for belonging. Technology, we've talked about technology. Technology has actually separated people, unfortunately. However, technology can be used for good overall experience in the lodge room or even downstairs in the fellowship hall. It also is a useful tool in community presence, making people aware that Masonry still exists and that there is something in this beautiful, amazing fraternity for men who desire it.
That was pretty good. You know, my final thoughts on the future of Masonry is look at a week ago and look at now. Currently, we started hosting this podcast. You know, it's a slow progress, but it's a piece of technology that we're using to put ourselves out there, to let people know that we are here, that we are here to support them. And even though a lot of brothers can't make it to the lodge, they can still listen to this podcast and information out of what it is to be a Mason. You know what I mean? Whether it's a piece of education or a piece of knowledge that they didn't know what was going on. So, you know, discussions like today are 3, points of discussion. Technology is slowly moving forward. 300 years ago, brothers did with what they had: pen, paper, mouth to ear. Now we've gone to the point where, you know, we have phones, we have message boards, we have podcasts, we have Facebook, we have the internet, we have web pages, we have email. We're advancing forward, but it's going to be a slow progress because at the end of the day, none of it is tiled.
Right.
And unless something is tiled, we can't be for sure, you know, of those Cowans and eavesdroppers. We just can't. So we still have to be careful. We still have to be cautious. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today. Worshipful Master Rob Mullin from Bethany Lodge 821 and Brother Keven Cordero, also the chaplain for Bethany Lodge 821. Thank you very much, brothers, for joining me tonight and your points for these discussions. And I hope you guys had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Oh, no problem. I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Well, that was it, folks. In case you missed it, I will link the information below if anyone is interested in becoming a Mason around the Jefferson area. Keep in mind that if you are interested in becoming a Mason and you are just outside of our jurisdiction, it doesn't mean you have to wait. It doesn't mean that you can't be a Mason. There are many lodges within our district and others around the world. To be one, ask one, and they will point you in the right direction should you meet the qualifications. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. We look forward to bringing you the next episode, but until then, may the great architect of the universe hold his light bright, and may you continue to better yourself into the future. Thank you, and good night.